Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly, presented by Whisker Wear Apparel. Along with Doc Lang, I'm Lyle Stokes. And, Doc, we got a bunch of stuff to go over tonight.
Yes, we do.
Been really nice day in Southwest Missouri today. I've been sitting here been on the phone and lining stuff up and talking to people and doing different things. And I really, really need to get to the lake.
I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. Cindy and I are planning on leaving in the morning. If we can find some bait, we're going to try to do some video stuff and test out some new products and things that some of the cool people that deal with us have sent us to use and try to catch a couple of fish. I ain't caught that one little dinky fish. Is the only thing I could, but I'm feeling pretty good. The shoulder's not hurting, so I'm ready for something a little bit bigger, maybe 15, 20, 30, 40, 60, something
80, 100.
Yeah, whatever hits, and if I can't handle it, I know Cindy will be right there with me. There's no doubt. We're gonna get one on and get it in the boat and see how things work out. It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna have a good time, and I'm excited.
Good deal.
Doc, I've been getting a lot of people asking about the Catfish Weekly National Championship, and there's a couple of things that I'd like to talk about tonight. They've been asking about rules and different things, and I have got the rule package put together the way we want it. And before I post that, I'm going to send it out to some of the, like yourself, Doc, and other guys that fish a lot of tournaments that I think will give us great input to make sure that this is the package that we want and that it'll be fair for everybody. We're trying to make this as foolproof. When you guys get to Lake of the Ozarks, I want it to be as smooth run as we can possibly make it. So we're trying to get everything lined up to make it as good an event as possibly can. The other thing guys have asked about is, they're talking about the $300 entry fee and what the payout's going to be. And we've said from the beginning, we're going to pay 10 places. Anything after that will be sponsorship products and stuff that we get from sponsors. And I want to let everybody know tonight that we have 92 or 94 people qualified as of today. There's going to be 2 tournaments this weekend. So after Saturday, you've got the JKV Cancer Tournament this weekend, and you've got the Tri-State Shootout this weekend. That will qualify a minimum of 10 more people. Well, no, 20 more people. But top 5 and a minimum of 2 people per event. So you're looking at another 20. So we're going to be over 100 people qualified. Now, Doc, if we have 100 people qualified, we'll have 50 teams that are ready to go. They'll be eligible to fish this event. Now, if 50 boats show up, first place will pay $6,000 with 50 boats.
Okay.
Second place will pay $3,000. Third place will pay $1,800. Fourth place will pay $1,500. Fifth place will pay $1,050. Sixth place will pay $600. Seventh place will pay $450. Eighth place will pay $300. Ninth and 10th will pay $150. That's with 50 boats. So guys are wanting to know why my tournament series is not involved. Well, if they haven't been invited, it's probably because I don't know about them. If you want your tournament series or your tournament that you're going to fish to be involved with it, have them directors get a hold of us. We want everybody involved throughout the United States. I don't care where you're at. And here's an example. I'm not going to dwell on this. Our goal for this tournament is to have a minimum of 200 boats qualified to show up. If 200 boats show up to this tournament, first place will pay $24,000 if 200 boats show up. Now, that's a ton of money, and if that doesn't make tournament directors want to get their money in to qualify their top 5, I don't know what will. On that's the goal, is 200 boats qualified to show up. If 200 qualified boats show up to that tournament next May, a year from this May, first place boat will be eligible to win $24,000. So if you guys want to be involved with this, if you want to get in there, get them tournament directors to get in touch with us. They can email us at catfishweekly@gmail.com. They can send me a message online through Facebook, through Catfish Weekly, through my personal account. This is some serious money. I don't know of any place that pays out that kind of money to win a tournament, but it's only going to be the top 10. So after that, it will be sponsorship prizes and things that sponsors give us. There's going to be a lot of contingency money from different companies. I've talked to several of them. They're on board with that. You'll have to have their products. You'll have to have their stickers on your boats and stuff. This is stuff that we're working out now. We're working to get motel rooms at a discounted rate. We're working with restaurants to get things signed up so you can go to these places and eat and get a break on stuff. We're trying to make this as big and as best we can. And I don't know any place that you got a chance to make on 50 boats to win $6,000. That's a pretty serious jack.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Doc, if I can find somebody to run it, I'm going to try to get qualified so I can fish it. It's that's a big deal. And for the guys that are wanting to know, that's where we're at right now with the way plans are. It's going to be a major event. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if we can get 100 or 200 boats to show up to this year, 2018 qualifying events will be huge deal. It'll be even bigger, and we're going to have the same format, run it the same way, and the payouts will be bigger again. So for you guys that are wanting to know about that, go to the Catfish Weekly National Championship Facebook page. If you have any questions, send us a message. I'll get you the answers as quickly as I can. There's going to be a lot of good information on there. As we update rule packages and places to stay, all that stuff will be on there. You'll be able to find out everything you need to know. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you can't have fun in Missouri at the Lake of the Ozarks, you probably are too serious about what you're doing.
Yeah, and we had Boomer on the show 2 weeks ago, and he gave us a bunch of information. I'm sure we're going to have him back on again.
Oh, yeah, and Boomer made the offer to anybody that wants to know anything. They can really you can contact him. He's such a great guy. I've known him for quite a while. Really a good guy, and he'll help you with anything he can. I will do my best to help you with what I know. Nobody's going to give you their fishing spots, but if they're catching them on ledges, they're liable to say, hey, we're catching them on ledges. You need to try that. That lake is so full of shad and there's no skipjack or anything like that in it. So that's going to be your bait. It's usually very easy to get. And hell, if I'm getting it in the back of the coves, I'll say, hey, go to the back of the cove and get it. If I'm getting it out on the points, I'll tell you, go to the points. That's where we're catching our shad. But regardless, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great event. We've got the park board and the conservation guys. Everybody's involved. Everybody's happy we're going to do this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm planning on there being some serious money paid out to some guy that spends his time and puts it all in. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it to get here. But in the meantime, I need to get my butt to the water and catch a couple of fish so I can kind of get this grime off of it. I feel dirty because I haven't caught any fish. You get like that, Doc?
No, because I'm always catching fish. At least I'm trying to.
Well, that's great. You got anything that we need to go over right off the bat?
Do you want to do the tournaments that happened over the weekend, or you want to wait until
it makes sense?
Yeah,
Either way.
Chris don't mind waiting. He's just sitting there real patient. I know him real well. So
I know for a fact he told us a while ago he got 8 hours sleep over the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right, we'll start. I'll start it off here. A lot of tournaments over the weekend. One of the big ones was the Sea Arc tournament. Generally, Lyle and I go down and we kind of go over the pay places. Well, they paid down 21 places. I'm not going to read 21 spots. I am going to touch on the top 5, though. First place is Kevin Parks and Ryan Nagy, 188.97 pounds of fish. Second, Jim Loudermilk and Steve Jones, 142.57. Third, David Shipman and Brooke Wilbanks, 139.64. Fourth place, Phil Brown and Kristen Brown, 130.32. Fifth place, Justin Connors and Tabitha Linville, 128.51. Big fish of the tournament was Kevin Parks and Ryan Nagy, 82.49 pounds. The second big fish was Phil and Christine Brown, and it was a 76.71 pound fish. That's Sea Ark. Down around mine and Chris's way this past weekend, Kiwana River Catfish Club. They went out on Nitro Ramp on the Kiwana River. First place, Greg Adkins and Noah Eblin, 75.8 pounds. Second, Cody Gore, Richard Wade, 70.15 pounds. Third, Joey Eddy, Richard Wallace, 61.9 pounds. Big fish was a Michael Remy and Eddie Beller, 41 pounds. SWOCC out of Schmidt Ramp, which is downtown Cincinnati, Ohio. First place, Adam and John Denier, 117.1 pounds. Big fish. They had big fish of the tournament, which was a 29.7 pound fish. Second was Vic Shepard and Matt Beckdolt, 62.1 pounds. Third was Willie Smith and Drew Brenner, 41 pounds. They had 41 pounds. Next tournament is a tri-state tournament. That is this coming Saturday, going out of Tanners Creek, Indiana. That's from 8 to 4, and that is a national qualifying event for the Catfish Weekly National Championship.
We're really excited about that.
Yeah, another tournament series that's real close by here that I like getting involved with, Cat Chaser Series. It's run by director Dana Jackson. They fished out of Paint Creek Lake. I did hear back from one of the guys. He said it was a tough bite. Generally, this lake really gives up some heavy weights, but it didn't this weekend. First place, Corey Copas and Hayden Porter, 28.14 pounds. Second, Jeff Corley, Tony Bernardo, 25.12 pounds. Third, Willie and Stacy Smith, 22.4 pounds. Fourth, Paul Bowman and Paul Bowman, the second, 19.8 pounds. Big fish was Ernie Johnson with a 10.9 pound channel cat. And that is all I've got for tournaments.
Well,
your go, Lyle.
How about if I try this for a minute?
All right.
The Central Missouri Cats had their tournament over the weekend. This was also a national championship qualifying event. Daryl Horde and Wayne Drummonds won it. Mike Porter and Sean Graham was second. Wayne Stevens and James Good was third. Dave Swearington, Marty Darr, a couple of really good guys in the sport, got fourth. And Danny McGraw and Brian Sanders, another pair of outstanding guys, got fifth. Those guys are all qualified for the Catfish Weekly National Championship coming up next May. So there's some more guys that are involved with this. Going to be a lot of fun. Now, let me switch gears here and get on another page. Jerry Dillard sent me the results from the Central Texas Catfishing Trail the past Saturday. They had 18 boats on Lake Bardwell. Michael Houston and Vess Cooks for the win. 56.90 pound stringer, and also big fish, a 23.94 pound blue cat. Second place was John Dillard and Jerry Dillard at 46.5 pounds. Third place went to Randy Miller and Johnny Ward. Results from Central Texas Catfish Tournament on Lake Whitney. First place went to John Dillard and Jerry Dillard, 41.88 pounds, and had big fish, 11.96 blue cat. Second place was Roy Ewing, Garth Goodwin with 38.58 pounds, and third place went to John Edwards and Frank Ellis with 28.78 pounds. Thank everybody for the 20 boats that showed up and battled the 25-mile-an-hour north winds that blew for 5 hours during a tournament. And we know how that's tough sledding. We all know how that wind affects everybody. Tim Berger sent me the results from the past weekend for the All-American Catfish Tournament Series. Was at Hillsdale Point Lake in Kansas. No, that's the next one they got coming up June 10th. At May 6th for the Hillsdale Point, Hillsdale Lake, Kansas night tournament. June 10th will be at Call Point. It's also a night tournament. It is a qualifier for the national championship. So you guys get over and see Tim. They will fix you up. They just got this started and going this year. They're doing a really good job. They've got great stuff set up to make this happen, and Tim and them guys will take care of you really well. You'll be happy to show up over there and fish them tournaments. It's going to be a great time. So make sure that you give them some things. One more thing before we get Chris on here, Doc. I got something to show you. Nick DeShano with Offshore Tackle sent me these to test out. This is what we're going to be testing tomorrow. We tried these out, and the wind affected us the last time. These are Offshore Tackle boards. I'm excited to get out and try these. We've been using some other boards, and they work great, but Nick has entrusted us to try these. You guys need to take a look at these. These things are so well made. It's unbelievable. Got the tattletale flags on them. I'm really wound up about it. We're going to be testing these things out for him to see how they work on the lake tomorrow, and hopefully everything will go good. Great product and an outstanding group of people to work with up there. They really do some things. One of the things that I wanted to tell you guys about, they have a deal that's like a little newspaper, and this is called the Offshore Release. And I'm going to be getting some of these from them guys. So when you guys see us at tournaments in different areas, this thing is full of information on how people use boards and how they do different types of fishing and stuff. Now, granted, some of it's done up on the Great Lakes, but it all is pertinent to how we fish. So they have a lot of good products. Check those guys out and be looking forward to how these things work out for us. We're going to let you know and talk about them. Great company, great bunch of people. Really excited to be part of this. At the end of the show, we got some giveaways to do tonight, Doc. We're going to give away some rig wrap stuff. What do you think about that?
Yep, that'll work.
That'll work? All right. Well, in the meantime, I think most of the people tonight probably tuned in to hear and see Chris Souter. So, Chris, welcome to Catfish Weekly.
Thank you for having me.
We want to talk tonight about keeping bait alive. And I watched your videos that you done here a while back, and I know those guys with those bait tanks you're using, Extreme Bait Tank Company, that is an outstanding product. But there's some tricks to keeping bait alive besides that, and I think that we need to tell people how to do that.
Well, we can definitely give it a shot. I mean, starting off, I mean, you're right. A good tank is a good way to start. But there is, other things to, help yourself along the way.
That's right. And you made some really good short videos, to the point, quick, told people how long the fish stayed alive. You kept Shad alive, and Shad is pretty tough to keep alive, but you kept them alive for a long time and then hauled them all the way to Alabama.
Yeah. After
they'd been alive for several days and done really well with those. So I figured that if anybody would know how to keep bait alive, that it would be Chris Souters.
Well, thank you.
Doc, you got any questions for him?
Oh, yeah. I got a bunch.
Yeah, I figured. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, Chris. So let our viewers know what's the name of the tank that you're currently running.
Extreme Bait Systems. It's Extreme Bait Systems with an X instead of it starts with an X.
Okay, where are they out of?
Southern Kentucky, right around Lake Cumberland, Somerset,
Okay.
actually.
And how can people get a hold of them? Is it Facebook or website or?
Now, the best and easiest way is to message them through Facebook or call them.
Under Extreme Bait Tanks.
Yep, Extreme Bait Systems on Facebook, and either message them or call them through the number on Facebook.
Okay. Now, all right. Now we're going to get down to nitty gritty. How many pumps is in this unit?
Depending on what tank you get, and for like talking purposes, I'll say is like a 30-gallon tank, because that's normally what most people are buying or using. But it's a one pump, and it's 500 gallon an hour. It's a sea flow pump, and it uses about a 1.5 amps. So it'll last a long time on one battery.
Okay. And how many gallons per minute were they?
500.
500. Okay. Now, the filter system. Okay, the filter system on this thing is a little bit unique, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's vertical instead of the horizontal, like what we've seen in other bait tanks.
Yeah. So to talk a little bit about the filtering system, to me, that is the most important part of this tank, or not the most important part, but one of them. And one of the things that makes it just so easy to take care of, and it's 154 square inches. So you got a filtering system, like you said, that's vertical instead of flat. So instead of having a small filter system that's, all the nastiness is just sitting on top of, this vertical filter is so you're getting the whole 154 square inches of filter instead of just one small portion.
So the water is pumped up to the top, and then it cascades down across your filter system.
Yeah, it's a gravity fed. The tube comes straight up through the filter, to the center of the filter box, and you have the filter material behind it, and it just catches it as it goes down, and then drains through all the water, and everything has to drain through the filtering system to get out to the pump.
Now, if it gets clogged, will the pump go dry?
No, it will overflow if it gets clogged up.
It's clogged up.
I've yet to have. I mean, the filtering system works great on it, but it only works as great as long as you're taking care of it.
Right.
And the first 3 to 5 hours of getting that bait is real crucial to making sure that you're keeping that filter clean. But as cheap as this stuff is, the first few times you change it, you're better off to just pull it out and put a new one in.
Now, is it using like the air conditioning pads?
No, it's called smartphone. You can buy it at Hobby Lobby, or some Walmarts carry it. It's just a polyester that's kind of like a more rigid. You can kind of see how rigid.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah. So you just cut it to whatever you need, the size that you need?
Yeah. So when you buy it,
comes in a roll?
No, it comes in a big square.
Okay.
Like this square here would have been like this, another 6-8 inches long, 8 inches tall. And, whenever you first get it, it's about 3 inches thick, but you can split it apart and make more than, 2 or 3 out of one pile.
Yeah. Okay. Now so you're saying that 30-gallon is the most popular. What sizes do they make this tank?
They make a 20, a 30, a 50, and a 70, and 100.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they make different tanks, for different things, and I like to keep one in the back of the truck whenever I'm going to get the bait, a bigger one, and then a smaller one in my boat as well.
Yeah. Now, on the 20s and 30s, what's the footprint size on that tank?
The 20 is 23 by 24 by 24. And whenever the first number is how long it is.
Right.
The other two numbers are the width and the height. And then the 30 is 32 by 24 by 24.
Okay.
But
now I know. Go ahead.
Keep in mind that a 30-gallon tank, whenever he says it's 30-gallon, that's 30-gallon in a bait well. Okay. your filtering system is going to hold another 10, 11 gallons. So in all actuality, their 30-gallon tank is a 40, to where most manufacturers say a 30-gallon tank, that's all the water that their tank will hold.
Right.
Whenever he says it's 30, it's 30 inside of the bait well.
Oh, okay. So that does not include the filtering system.
No.
Okay. Now I was getting ready to add this question, and Dieter just jumped right in there. So I'm going to read what he has put down here. He goes, "What is your process when he nets shad? Does he place the shad directly from the net in the tank, or does he put them into a bucket first to weed out weak shad, let them lose their scales?"
Now that's a good question, because it's very important in the process that you take. Now, I did a video that shows me putting them straight into a tank, and after that video, I noticed that if I was to put them into a tub, a round tub with water in it, that they done better and lasted longer. So now, since I have discovered that, I will put all my shad into a tub as soon as I get them out that's got water in it. I'll let them process themselves, their first puking through that, and then that gives me a chance to get out just what I want, just the size I want. Or like he said, if there's some in there that are weak or already hurt, we don't want to put them in the tank, so we'll just put them back into the river or lake.
Yeah. So you do the same thing I do, is you let them purge themselves in a different water and stuff like that, or the water that you bring them out of, so that they're not clogging up your filters and stuff like that, because they're notorious when they get stressed out for dropping scales.
Yeah. That's the first thing they'll do as soon as you put them in that tank, is they'll start puking and pooping, and the more of that stuff you can keep out of your tank to start with, the better chance you're giving yourself.
Okay, Dieter wants to know, is he adding salt or another water treatment to his tank designed for bait fish?
Yes. I use water softening salt from Lowe's, and you can use any non-iodized salt, canning salt, pickling salt, but I use water softening salt from Lowe's.
Why is that?
If you've ever been in a shower or a hotel that has a water softening system, you have whenever you get out, your skin will feel different. And
right, I've noticed that.
Well, it does the same thing to the bait fish. It helps them keep their scales and their slime coat instead of that water. The chemicals and the minerals in the water, that salt will help take that stuff out, and it does the same thing to the fish as it does your skin.
I like it when I get out feeling like that. Yeah, you get to be 60 years old, you get kind of rough around the edges. You need all that water softening you can get.
Yeah.
Travis Davis would like to know, is there a website and a price list, and do they ship?
They do ship. That price will differ, obviously, I think, depending on where you live. I can give prices right now if you'd like me to.
Absolutely.
Fire away.
The 20-gallon is $5.89. The 60 or the 30-gallon is $5.99, and then it goes up from there. I had the prices written down here.
That's what I do. I write stuff down and then I can't find it.
Yeah. All right. The 20-gallon is $5.89. 30 gallons $5.99. 50-gallon is $6.99. 70 is $8.99, and the 100-gallon is $15.50.
Okay. Now, are the pumps easy to get to? Can you, if you have a pump go bad, can you get to them fairly easy?
Absolutely. Now a lot of people have asked me, why don't they have plugs in them? Well, these tanks are so easy to get. You pull the filter box right out. And as soon as you pull that filter box out, you know, everything is right there. You reach down, you pop it off. You can put a hose right on it and pump the salt water out of your boat instead of having to use a bucket or something. But yeah, absolutely. The pumps are easy to get to, easy to change. Within minutes, if one goes bad, you can have a new one in, wired up, and ready to go.
Now, does this system have a Venturi built into it?
Danco Venturi, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
So you're so you're pulling fresh air, which is 20.9% of O2 into the tank at all times.
Yes.
So you've got capabilities that you could plumb in O2 to this thing.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you could put in, straight O2 through the Danco, or you could just add a oxygen system to the tank. Either one.
Right. Okay.
If I personally was going to add an oxygen system to it, I would just add an extra oxygen system to it instead of putting it through the Danco.
I agree.
But obviously with the Danco, which we all know that's one of the best that's out there, it's keeping a shad, which are hard to keep alive anyway. On a normal basis, what's temperature loss? From the time you put the shad into the tank, have you tried to figure out how does the water stay cool? Do you add ice or anything to it, or?
I have yet to have to add ice to it. Now, I have not had this tank in extreme hot weather yet. When I say extreme, I'm talking in the middle of my boat, in the middle of the river, and 90 to 100 degree temperatures.
Right.
Now, I'm sure by that point, we'll have to add ice, to help it along. But it's a steel air insulation, double wall, which keeps it from, transferring heat from the outside to the water, as easily with that steel air insulation. So as far as temperature loss, it's minimal as of right now.
Okay.
Because like I said, I have not had the tank in extreme hot weather yet.
Yeah, because Travis Davis just asked, are they insulated? So they've got some insulation in them.
Yes, yeah, it's a double wall steel air insulation.
Okay, Dieter's asked another question. He said, is he keeping bait in a tank for multiple days? Is he cycling out the water, say 25% to 50% per day or so?
No, I am keeping it for days, but I am not changing the water. The only time there's a water change is if I'm taking bait from one tank and putting it into another. Like say, if I'm taking it out of the back of my truck, putting it into the boat, or from the boat into the back of the truck. That's the only time there'd be a filter or a water change. I try to keep them, in the same water. The filtering system works so great on these things that the water change is not needed, or I haven't had it needed yet.
Yeah. Okay. Durior Catfishing, he says, I'm late. Does he prefer live shad over bluegill? Shad is a lot of work to keep alive.
I absolutely prefer live shad over bluegill. If it is hard to keep alive, it's well worth the time and effort to do it.
That's right.
Yeah, there's something about a live shad over a bluegill that just, a lot of times you can see them start to shake on the rods when a flathead gets near them. And I think at that point, they start dumping scales.
Yeah.
I think they're an automatic chum system. I believed that for years. They start getting excited and they start dumping scales, and that's just, that's like chumming the waters for a flathead. Where
Right.
a bluegill won't do that.
I don't know about you, but when I see that rod start twitching, I get antsy. I know something's about to happen.
Yeah.
That's a fact, man.
Yeah.
Travis Davis.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Lyle.
If do you use any type of foam off or anything like that, or is that filter system stop from that need?
No, you'll still need foam off, and that's actually a good question and a tip I'd like to share with everybody tonight. I mean, everybody, has the bottle of foam off, in their boat, but something that I have found over the years that works better than just dropping foam off in the tank, and obviously it has to mix into the water, is just to go to Walmart and get you a little dollar bottle from the travel section. Fill it 3/4 of the way up with foam off and 1/4 of the way up the rest of the way with water, and dilute that foam off just a little bit. And the mist of foam off works 10 times as better and faster than dropping drops into the tank. It will instantly knock the foam off the top of that tank, where it'll take 30 seconds for that foam off if you just drip it in to mix in with the water.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a really good tip.
Dieter Melhorn is asking, have you tried to keep smaller skipjack alive in them? I know it's reaching, but I figured I'd ask. That was actually going to be my next question.
Absolutely.
Have you tried skipjack?
The skipjack, not yet. I'm working on it, and I am absolutely going to try it. But when we was in South Carolina, and I was fishing the Santee Cooper Monster Quest tournament, they have what they're called river herring, and they're real similar to a skipjack to me. But the guys down there was telling me they never kept them alive or anything. Well, we tried to keep them alive, and they stayed perfectly fine in that tank. We kept 40 alive in a 30-gallon tank.
Wow.
And had no problems with them. So I am anxious to see what skipjack do. I think they're going to be really hard to keep alive, but I think with some work, maybe add an oxygen system to them, and I'm going to try to not keep as many. Maybe start out with just 4 or 5, see how they do, and then go from there.
Now, what's the maximum amount? Okay, so you got what, a 30-gallon one in your boat?
Yeah.
What's the maximum amount of shad that you would suggest you keep in that tank?
If you're wanting to keep it for a tournament, just like maybe a day and a half, 2 days, you could go up to 45, say 45 10-inch gizzard shad. But now I highly recommend, if you're going to try to keep them for days, 1 per gallon. If you got a 30, keep 30. That way it gives them a little bit more room. They're not as crowded. They're not beating each other up, and they're nice and comfortable.
Now, that was before. We've got some other questions that are coming, but I want to jump in here. How is the water circulated in this tank? Is it with a spray bar, or what are they using to circulate the water?
It's called a directional discharge. It's just a kind of a flat directional discharge piece that's mounted on the inside of the tank, and you can move it up or down depending on where you want the bubbles to come out to, and you can adjust that kind of to your liking. If you want them to come up a little bit mid, a little high, or a little low, just kind of whatever you decide that you want, or how it works best for you. But it's a real gentle flow, and what they found is, shad need flow and current, but if you put a gentle flow inside the tank instead of a hard flow, they're not fighting as hard to swim. And obviously, if they're going to have to swim a lot and a lot harder, they're going to wear themselves out and obviously die quicker.
Yeah, so it kind of goes against what all the other tank manufacturers had, because I know I had a gray line and it poured the water in there. Them guys worked hard while they were in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those too, and I was talking to Chris earlier this afternoon. I couldn't think of the name of it. That's what I had. and had some issues like that. And a concrete man said he come in late. What was the name of the tank? And it's Extreme Bait Tanks. Spell that again, Chris.
XTREME.
You can look them up online on Facebook. They have a great product, and anybody that's interested in keeping bait alive, whether it be for everyday fishing or tournaments or whatever, this is something that people need to check out. And there's other tank companies. We're not saying this. We're not saying this is the only place to go. But Chris is extremely familiar with this, and his success rate for keeping these bait fish alive is so great. That's why we're talking about them, because I've got some questions about other stuff coming on. When we get done or get down the road a little bit that is going to apply to other stuff.
Yeah, Travis Davis wants to know, do you ever mix bait in your tank like shad and chubs?
I will, but only in the tank that's going to be on the boat fishing, on tournament day. If I catch them, days in advance, I try to keep things separate. Chubs, especially bluegills are hard baits. I try to keep those away from my shad to keep them from beating them up.
Yeah.
And bluegills are very hardy bait. I mean, you can keep them things alive seemingly forever.
Yeah.
They don't require near the care that a shad or a skipjack or something like that requires.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of the red-eyed rock bass and that kind of stuff. They're, them things are hardy.
Yes. Yeah, those you can keep alive pretty easy in, a cattle trough or, just a cooler tank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, here's another real good question from Dieter. Is he running the battery-operated pumps 24/7 while on the road, while fishing multiple days? Or is there an alternative to running the battery-operated pumps overnight while on the road?
Yes, and I had no idea you could do this until I met Micah Brown, which is Extreme Bait Systems owner. He, at the Catfish conference, I asked him, I said, how are you keeping that battery, for 3 days without going dead? He said, I ain't using a battery. I said, what do you mean you ain't using a battery? It's a 12-volt system. He said, I got a battery charger hooked up to it. So he just goes, and that's kind of what I started doing, is I went and bought a cheap battery charger from auto parts store, a manual battery charger. And you just hook the positive to the positive, negative to the negative, plug it in, and it'll run for days. You don't have to worry about your battery. You don't have to worry about nothing. And then you can just use your battery whenever you're not, at the hotel or someplace where you can't get power.
Those battery chargers like that, the small ones, they will only put out what the demand requires. If you're using 2 amps, that's all they'll put out. But if your battery's dead and are real low and it needs the 5 or 10 amp to operate something like that, then it will put that much out, but it will never overcharge anything. Therefore, it will not put out something that'll burn up your pumps. If it only requires 2 amps to operate that system, then that's all it'll give it, and it'll sit there and run forever like that. And it doesn't affect your electric bill hardly at all.
No.
Yeah. Now, when I owned my gray line, what I did is I had a line that came from the gray line, and I had a 12-volt accessory in the back of the truck, and I plugged it into that.
Right.
And while I was traveling down the road, it kept the pump running, and then I switched it over when I got at the ramp.
Yeah, I do the same thing in our boat. I have outlets, and just plug it in to the outlets, and there you go.
Yeah.
Because most people are charging their batteries up at night when they're at motel rooms or different places, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Good deal. Okay, got that. Have you tried to keep skips alive? That's it. That's all the questions I got.
Travis Davis would like to know how the others do in saltwater. So I assume that he means how do those tanks work if you're on saltwater fishing?
Though the pumps are, made of stainless steel materials inside, so they work in salt water just fine.
Good. But yeah, if they're stainless steel, they should be fine. Just flush them out once in a while. You should be good to go.
Yeah.
Should be good to go. Chris, I want to ask you about, and you and I talked about this earlier this afternoon. I have a Keepalive system in my boat, and we talked about the size of it and why we put it where we do in the boat and how it works. I've had a little problem keeping Shad alive, and we went over that. My question is, we have one of our sponsors, Survivor Crusher Marine, great product. If you guys don't have one on your boat, you got to get one. Man, this is the greatest thing that's ever been invented for keeping fish alive in a live well. I want to know what you would think about hooking this up to a Survivor and running it to a pump to where if you have a bait tank like mine and recirculating water into your bait tank and running it back out. So if you're making a long run, the Survivor unit would push the water into the bait tank and have an exit where it would kick it back out, just like you do in a live well. To me, that is constant flow, and you should be able to keep bait alive when you're moving.
Yeah. Now that's going to help it, absolutely. Now, do you have an air bubbler in that tank at all?
I do. I have an air bubbler, and I can hook it up to oxygen and stuff. But I'm just thinking a couple of inlets and an inlet and an outlet. And whenever, if you put it on a timer like the live well tank is, then whenever it's supposed to kick on, it'll kick water on and exit water out. And you could change the water out in your bait tank just like you do your live well. If you're driving down the lake, or if you're in a fishing tournament making a long run, that Survivor will pump it up to your pump, shove it right in your bait tank, and then your other pump or overflow, however you have it set up, would exit it back out. I'm thinking that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, it's got to help, by all means. Now, I heard you say something, about oxygen to your bait. Mm-hmm. Now, personally, I had an oxygen system set up in the front of my Sea Arc live well. And every time I would shoot oxygen to them, they would be great. They would get jacked up, pumped up for about an hour. And then all of a sudden they'd start dying off real quick. And I noticed that if I pumped the oxygen to them, they'd done that. They would get real hyped up real quick, but then they'd die real quick. So I stopped oxygen to the bait.
Was you running a lot of oxygen to them, or just a very little bit?
No, 0.12, just like I do on my live tank for my for my fish. But for some reason they couldn't. I don't know if they couldn't handle it, or if it was just too much for them. They was getting too hyper and beating themselves up. But they just didn't stay very good whenever I hooked that oxygen up to them, in other tanks. But
they may be small enough that their lung capacity won't withstand the pure oxygen stuff. So, therefore, a bubbler system or something like that might be a better choice then.
Yeah, before I got the extreme bait system, I always used just the 12-volt bubblers, and had success. But it's hard to keep them things alive. And whenever I say alive,
you gotta work at it.
Yeah, I don't mean just swimming in the tank. I want it to be just as hard for me to catch them out of the tank as it was for me to catch them out of the river or lake.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. Mike Lewis would like to know, how big of air pump or stones do you use in your bait tank?
If you have a bait tank, you don't want big bubbles. So if you're using the 12-volt bubbler that you can buy at like Cabela's or any fishing store, get the 5-inch stones from Walmart. They're about a 3/4 inch wide by by 5 inches long. And that's going to force more air through that stone and break those bubbles up finer, which is going to stay stimulated in the water longer and catch more and give more oxygen to the water. Instead of having, pencil-sized bubbles, you're going to have pencil lead-sized bubbles, which is going to be better for you.
All right, there you go. That's some pretty good information, man. We went over a lot of cool stuff. I think that run a couple of hoses to a survivor unit and a pump system in and out in a bait tank. To me, would be so neat. You could keep your keep water changed out for your bait just like you do for your live well. Now, Chris, keeping live bait in boats has been something that's been going on. It's not new.
Yeah.
But in the tournament aspect, most people just catch their bait and they throw it on ice and then they're good. But this is a way to keep bait alive. And what is better or more fresh than when you cut a live fish open to use it for cut bait than that? It's not like they have quit pumping blood or they've been on ice for overnight or 24 hours. These babies are still swimming in there. That should be as fresh a bait as you could possibly get, so the quality of your bait is higher. That could very well be the difference in catching a fish that would put you in the top 5 or the bottom 10.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Now,
fresh is always best.
I don't know how a lot of people think or a lot of people feel, but me personally, every second that a shad is dead, to me, it becomes that much useless.
They just start deteriorating immediately.
Yeah. And, I can't stress how much, fresh bait and live bait, even if you're going to cut it, is important.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to go ahead.
Mike Lewis wants to know where you can find out about the survivor arenas. Mike, you go to crushermarine.com. They have a website. Tell Robert you heard about it on Catfish Weekly. He'll get the kick out of that. That is the greatest product to pick up water and send to your live well. I know Chris has got one, Doc and I both have them. It is undoubtedly the neatest invention to keep fish in a live well alive that I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean it works. It works well. I'm gonna test mine out this weekend. I'm gonna do something different. We're gonna be fishing on Cincinnati. Well, we're gonna be fishing on the Ohio River near Cincinnati this weekend. I will probably put live shad in my front live well, my Sea Arc. With the survivor in the back, I can open up that front fill unit, and I got a feeling if I'm anchored down and the current is rushing by, I'm gonna see if it'll push that water all the way to the front without the use of the pump.
I'm pretty sure it will.
Yeah, I got a feeling it's going to shove it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not going to be real heavy flow, but I think you'll have a great flow and plenty good enough to fill the live well and change water out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir, Mike. You're very welcome. Like I say, you'll love that product. It is the neatest thing for saving fish that we've come across in a very long time, maybe ever.
Yeah, very good product. Very good.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know, Chris, you use one of those and think the world of it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that, I love my Sea Arc boat. Love it. But ever since I've had it, I've had to carry a little black piece of hose around with me. And I say I have to because one day I forgot it. And my partner that I used to fish with, Red, was fishing a tournament, and man, we had some nasty water in that back live well, and we couldn't get the pump to come on. It airlocked. He said, "What are we going to do?" So I said, "We got to, we got to blow back through that line." And he said, "You're not going to stick your head in that water, are you?" I said, "I got to. We got to switch that water out." So I found out firsthand that we had to keep that little black hose on that boat, and when I talked to Robert down there in Kentucky at the Catfish Conference, and he told me about that thing, you know, I fell in love with it. I've never had to use that black hose again, and I mean, I can't explain how great that is. That water is nasty.
That's a great story. I'm kind of surprised you told everybody about that.
Hey, you learn the hard way, you know, and
Well, that's right.
and you know, I'm glad people can get a laugh out of it. I mean, me and Red got a laugh out of it.
Sure. Yeah, we've done that. Doc and I have told stuff on ourselves that normally we wouldn't share with anybody, and but it's all in good fun, and maybe it'll save the next guy from having to go through the same thing we just went through. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm excited about figuring this deal out to hook up an exchange system in my live tank, and if I have problems at that point, we got to figure out a way to get something different, because we was in cool water here a month or so ago at a tournament. It was not hot at all, and didn't have any problem keeping bluegill alive. But I lost shad overnight, and I was not a very happy camper. We went to all the trouble to keep them separate, but we did put some on ice just, you know, in case, because we wasn't sure how it'd work, and lost all the shad in the bait tank overnight. And I was trying to do a comparison on fresh cut shad versus shad that had been on ice overnight. You can't do it if you can't keep them alive. So it was a futile charge, but, you know, we're going to try it again, and we're going to get this thing figured out. And I think with the pump and the help from Robert's Survivor product, I think that we'll have a shot at it. And like I say, if we don't, I'll be giving you a call and finding out what I got to do.
No number. I mean, anybody's more than welcome to give me a shout. I help anybody.
You know, we talked earlier about some of the videos you done, and for the guys that are not aware, Chris does some really good videos. He makes some videos that are extremely instructional that will help you find shad, catch fish. He's been in a boat with Steve Douglas and numerous other guys. Really a great place to go to get educational information. If you need to get a hold of Chris, check out some of his videos. They're outstanding. He does a really good job. Dieter says, be careful with adding fresh water. Dramatic temperature changes can shock those shad. That is a very good point, because it doesn't take a lot of temperature change on a shad. They're very temperamental and hard to keep alive compared to, say, bluegill or bullhead or something like that.
10 degrees,
bullhead,
10 degrees, and it shocks them.
That's right. They're very, very picky about stuff like that. I think you could do about it. I think you can leave a bullhead out of the water for an hour and a half, and I think you can put him in there and he'd swim around. Them are the toughest things that ever was. And bluegill is not quite that hardy, but close to it, you know. And most of the panfish, hard scale panfish are like that, but not all of them. But shad, skipjack, and one of the hardest things that I'm aware of to keep alive is moon eye. They almost seem to die instantly. Of course, when I get them, it's usually a hot part of the summer, and it doesn't take much, and they're gone. But I don't even try to keep them alive. Haven't for years. Just throw them on ice, put them in a bag. I'm ready to go, because if I get moon eye, you can bet I'm going to have some.
That'll be another experiment there for you, Chris. Is the moon eyes.
Doc, that's not an experiment. That's a guarantee. I know they'll stay alive.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Absolutely. You can keep them alive, and they work wonderful as live bait.
Yep. They have to. They're a very good thing. Danny Cal says he keeps all his shad on ice, and Danny, I do most of the time myself. But you got to try experimenting things to learn how to do it, and that's what we do. Is when we go on our little expeditions, we try different stuff to see if we can keep them alive, to see if they work. Any advantage you have when you're in a tournament with 100 of the greatest catfishermen in the nation, then if you can come up with something that they're not doing and it works, you're in.
Yeah. Dieter wants to know what your YouTube channel is, Chris.
Souders Catfishing and Slunger Cat Outdoors. I'm switching it over to Slunger Cat Outdoors, but right now, look up Souter's Catfishing, and just watch a few of them, and hopefully I'll be able to put out more videos kind of as tournament season goes on. It's going to slow down. Once it slows down, I'm going to kick back up the videos more. I have found it is very, very difficult to concentrate on a tournament and try to film at the same time.
It's nearly impossible. It's hard.
You only got so much time, and I love to share information. I love to help people out and do as much as I can to get people as comfortable fishing tournaments as they can be. But I want to win just as much as the next guy, and it's hard. It's hard enough to get a game plan together, and it's even harder to get a game plan together and try to film at the same time. But
it really is.
But I'm doing the best I can. And hopefully, we'll be able to start putting out more videos as I get comfortable and more knowledgeable with filming.
Well, you're doing a great job so far. Everybody seems to like them. I know I do. But like I told you earlier today, a lot of times I'll be in here at night working late, and I'll turn the monitor around and listen and watch everybody's videos, everyone that I can find. And I find new ones all the time that I didn't even know guys are making videos. And while I'm working, I'll listen to them and watch them and look up and see what they're doing. And if they're catching fish, I'll stop and watch that. You kind of got to do that. There was a subject brought on here, and some guys have kind of answered it, but how much salt do you put in your tank again? And it is non-iodized salt, correct? Of course, yours is. You're using the other other stuff. Yeah,
so I use 2 cups. It'd be 1 cup per 20 gallons. My 30-gallon tank is actually about 40 gallons, maybe a little, shade over 40 gallons. So I'm using 2 full cups of the watering salt.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
And now, something, I've had a lot of people ask me about that I want to make sure we cover tonight is the chemicals that I put in it. This is Stress Coat. Start Right. Now, these 2 things are basically the same thing. One comes from a pet store and one comes from Walmart. But that is the best additive that you can put in that tank to start with. I've used Better Bait, Shad Keeper, everything to get the chlorine out. But Stress Coat or Start Right, that is what you want to add to it from the start. And I always use tap water. That's a big question on whether I use river water, lake water, tap water, or well water. I always use tap water. That way I know what I'm starting with. I know it's clean, and I know what I'm dealing with, what I got to work with.
So you fill your tanks before you leave.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that chlorinated water?
Yes.
Do you do anything to take the chlorination out of it?
Yeah, that's what these are for.
Okay.
They actually, it just helps. The Stress Coat and the Start Right is a chlorine remover, but it also has aloe vera in it, which helps with the healing process of the fish, like if they're cut or anything like that.
I see. Okay, good idea. And you need to. Everybody needs to remember that, because buying stuff from Walmart and a pet store may very well be cheaper than some of that stuff has got pretty testy. I know I used to buy the Shad Keeper, and you get a great big old thing of it for $6 or $8, and now it's $30-some or $20-some, and it's a third the size of the bottle it used to be. So I'm sure that stuff is, and I've used some of that stuff that you have there, and keep some in the boat all the time in case we get someplace and the plug comes out of a tank and you got to fill it back up or whatever. That way you make sure you get all your stuff taken care of. So really good, solid information, Chris. It really is.
Very good. Yeah, and yes, viewers, that is my 11-year-old lab sitting there lapping up water. This microphone picks up everything. So.
Yep, it does. It does. Cindy and I talked about that earlier, and the directional mics is going to be the way to go for us in a lot of instances and different things that we do. Doc has a microphone just like I do, and they're called a Snowball, made by Blue. Are a quality
High
microphone.
quality. Yeah.
You know, they work extremely well. The problem is, and we learned this down at Mississippi River Monsters last year, they pick up all the background noise just like they pick up everybody else.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to get away from that on doing our remotes and everything. But they do a really good job if you don't have a bunch of noise. But if somebody walks in my spot here and they open the door, if they shut the door, you know it, just like Doc's dog drinking water, or whatever is going on, it'll pick stuff up in the next room. They are extremely sensitive, but they're a quality piece, and
that's right.
They just do a good job.
You never know what's going to happen on Catfish Weekly.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
When it's live, anything can come off of this show.
Yeah, some things that come out of my mouth that probably shouldn't, but it is what it is. It's a live show. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much of your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. I want to give you time here. If you have any sponsors or anybody you'd like to thank or anything you'd like to talk about, just take all the time in the world and do that. We really appreciate you spending the time. And I know the viewers are very happy that to hear a lot of this information. We had a lot of good questions tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of good questions. Now, I had something happen over the weekend, and I hope I'm not dragging this on too long or too much time.
You're fine. You're fine. Go for it.
But I'm a huge CPR fan. Anything we can do to keep these fish alive during tournaments and things of that nature. And we had caught a fish that was only like 15 pounds, but obviously we want to keep that fish alive. And in the tank, it came out of shallow water, but it just rolled up as soon as we put it in the tank. I mean, it was like it just gave up or had a heart attack or something. And we were sitting there babying that fish, trying to see what it was going to do. And Shannon had mentioned that there was a product out there that you clip clips to their fins, and it rolled them back over, belly down, into the bottom of the tank. And I said, well, man, let's give that a shot. Because we were sitting there with the tank open, holding its back fin, holding it upright to make sure that it wasn't going to die or get worse. And if it was, we was just going to return it back to the water. And so I took 2 8-ounce sinkers and 2 clips and clipped it to its fins. And it rolled back over on its belly. And within 30 minutes, that fish come from being almost stiff as a board to ready to whoop me in 30 minutes, just by rolling it back over onto its belly and letting it down on its belly. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's Fish Life that has that product.
Correct.
That is correct. And Fish Life is one of our sponsors, and they have some really good products. Really good products.
That is something that I plan on ordering as soon as I can, to have a few of them in my tank, because especially blue cats, they will roll up like that.
Yeah.
On you. And nobody wants to lose a fish. So anything we can do, I just thought I would share that with everybody.
That's really nice, and appreciate that.
And the night we had Jody on the show, he really talked about how that worked and why it works, and just getting them air. It forces that air out of their air bladder, but it keeps them upright. So,
yeah, I was really amazed at how well that happened, how quick it happened.
It didn't take long.
No, I was for sure we was going to have to release that fish, or something was going to happen to that fish. But we weighed that fish in, and it was healthy. It was ready to whoop me when it come out of the tank.
Well, I don't know, have any way of proving this, and this is just my opinion for what it's worth, but I believe a high percentage of when that happens is due from that fish being stressed.
I believe that.
I really do. I think it comes from stress. Some of these fish have been caught numerous times before. Regardless, there's guys that say, "Oh, once that fish is caught, you'll never catch it again." That's hockey. It's proven fact that they get caught over and over and over again. And I think a lot of times, when that happens, you may have a fish that might be the first time they've ever been caught, and most likely the first time they've ever been put in a live well. And I don't know what their attention span is, how long they retain memory or anything like that. I'm not that kind of a guy to keep up on all that, and if there even is a way to know. But if you shock their system, I don't care if it's a fish or a cow or a horse or a human, if you shock their system, they got to have some recovery time from it.
Yeah, and to answer one of the questions Scott McGowan just answered, now on the air bladder, do you ever burp them with a hose down their throat? I've got a small, I don't use a hose, but I've got a small PVC pipe that I rounded off, and and I'm turning it, and a lot of times that'll relieve them, especially if you. And one of the things that I know Chris and I really stress this is don't get in any hurry to bring these fish to the boat. You want that air bladder to blow. When you start seeing bubbles, then they're blowing that air bladder. Especially flatheads are notorious for it. Everybody wants to try to get them to the boat as quick as they can, but you really don't want to, because that fish will be really stressed out real bad. Once they start blowing bubbles, that they're relieving that air bladder, you'll have a lot less problems with them.
Yep, that's 100% correct. And Seth McAllister must be in our show tonight. He says, if you need to do that, you can cut one of them Larry Muse dragon tails up, and you can use that for a way to burp them fish. It's just a piece of plastic tube, and we've got stuff like that we keep with us all the time. But for the majority of the time, if you bring them up slow, you can see the bubbles. If that happens, you're probably pretty good shape. You never really have to worry about it, but it only comes from when they're deep down. If you're catching 15, 20 foot of water, it's not going to affect you. But if you're down 40, 50, 60 feet or more, there's a good chance that if you don't see them bubbles, you better relieve them somehow, or you're going to lose that fish.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, I'll take a minute to, thank my sponsors.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Monster Rod Holders, Warrior Cat Rods, Diachi Hooks, TTI Blakemore, Survivor. Survivor, I want to stress, I know you guys heard me say the story, but man, what they have done for the catfishing world and changing it, keeping these fish alive, absolutely amazing.
That is a fact.
Catfish clothing. If you guys, haven't read up on Catfish clothing and what they do for, our military services and things like that, and their mission as a Christian-based company, take a look at them. And, Extreme Bait Systems. I can't thank them enough for what they're doing. I mean, being able to go out and catch bait a week ahead of time is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I can't thank, I couldn't do what I do without these sponsors and these people helping me along, and giving me the product and the resources I need to be as successful as what I am.
That's very well a fact, and we commend all them guys. And on this, I know it's a long way for you and Doc, but we have a tournament coming up that we attend every year, Fishing for Freedom, where we take out military personnel, either active duty or non-active duty, and we take them out for a day of fishing. And that's coming up in Quincy, Illinois, the first weekend in June. And any of you guys that are watching the show, Chris brought this up about the Catfish clothing line, supporting the veterans and stuff. These guys need more boaters. We've got military people that want to go fishing. Some of them never been fishing. Some of them are very experienced fishing. We need more boaters. Get on Fishing for Freedom, Quincy, Illinois' website or Facebook page, and commit to this. I promise you, it's the most fun you can have. It's the most rewarding thing that you could ever do in a catfish boat, and take care of the people that take care of us. You're right, Daniel. It's the best event of the year. It really is.
What's the date on that, Lyle?
It's the first weekend in June. It'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They have
first, second, and third.
Yeah,
First, second, third,
right.
and fourth. Yeah.
They have guys that will take these people, men and women, out for trap shooting. They'll do archery shoots. They have a huge meal and a promotional dinner the night before the tournament's on Saturday, and you get out of 6 or 7 in the morning. I forgot what time it is, and you fish till noon or a little after, and you come to a weigh-in. And when you come to this weigh-in in Quincy, Illinois, it is a major deal for this city. It is lined up inside and out, people waving at these guys that have done so much for us, these men and women. And you go through the little towns when you're coming through, and they're standing out on their porch. It's a big deal. We need boaters for this event. You guys, I promise you, you'll be very happy if you take one of these guys or gals out. We look forward to it every year. The tournament's on the 4th. The dinner is the Friday night before that, or Saturday night before that. If you're traveling and you'll commit to coming to this, you can get a free motel room. We need to give back to these people like they have given to us. So at least consider it. Yeah, I promise you, you'll enjoy yourself. It's a blast. Chris, thank you for being part of Catfish Weekly tonight. I know that we'll be getting you back on here. It's always a blast to have you on here. And we talked a little bit this afternoon, and you and I, Doc, talked a little bit before the show started, as we always do. But the information you shared tonight and the way you help these guys with their question and stuff is outstanding. We appreciate you taking your time to do it. I know you're running on low on rest, but thanks a lot for coming on and helping us out with these questions and stuff.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. And, for anybody watching at any time, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. On Instagram and Twitter, it's SlungerCat. On Facebook, just follow me on Chris Souders. Ask a question. I don't mind answering questions. I don't care if it's 100 questions a day, 1,000 questions a day. I'll help you the best I can. Now, now it may be a day or two, before I get to you. I work a lot of hours. I fish a lot of hours, and I got a wife and a family, so I will get back with you, and I don't mind answering anything. Just be patient, and I will get back to you.
I understand. I go through that. A lot of us go through that all the time, and we don't mind helping or answering questions, and glad to do it.
Yeah.
And I know you're the same way I am. If I don't know the correct answer, I'm going to tell you I don't, but I'll find it out. If I got to call Doc, or I got to call Chris, or I got to call somebody, if I don't know the answer and can give you an honest opinion, I'll find the correct answer for you. But for the most part, as a general rule, most people are asking about things that I've already been through, what makes it easy. But it does take time, and none of us mind doing it, because we're helping out future people in our sport, and that's what we're trying to do is grow catfishing.
Yeah, I bug him all the time. I talk to him a lot.
But that's good, Doc. I mean, I get a lot of
we share a lot of information with each other.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's right.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Thanks for watching tonight, Danny. We appreciate it. On the Fishing for Freedom, it's not just catfishing on the Mississippi River. That is one portion of it. They also take people to Mark Twain Lake, and you can go take guys crappie fishing, or you can take them bass fishing. If you'd rather do that, if you're more comfortable with that, just get involved. All right, Doc, let's have a tip for tonight.
All right. Every April, and I do this, usually it's right around the end of April, can't stress enough on safety. Wear those PFDs. If you've got an inflatable, check the expiration. Make sure that little tag down there says it's green. It's ready to go. They only last 5 years, and then you have to change out the CO2 cartridge. Also, be advised, if you are using an inflatable PFD, you need to carry an additional regular life jacket on board your boat.
That's right.
And that is Doc's tip for the night.
Very important.
Safety.
One of the good guys that we all know had an accident over the weekend. We're not going to get into that without visiting with him first, but got in the water and got out safely, but it was touch and go for a little bit from what I understand. And the reason you need to carry the extra life jacket, because once that thing blows up, it's no good after that. Once you get in the boat, you still got to have a life jacket in there for your personal use. So the inflatables are a great life jacket, but you have to have one in case one of them goes off. You still have a usable one because they are accessible to having it getting checked. If you get checked, you don't have one. If it's burned up, you're done. So you want to make sure you have everything you need and give it up. Doc, I want to give away some Rick Wrap stuff before we leave. You know, we have some products. This is one that's really cool. I like it. I think I showed you guys last week. The deal on it opens up. I'm going to offer everybody a package of several rig wraps. I'm just going to throw some. How many ever fit in the box? Whatever that it is. I'm not going to say it's going to be this box or a regular rig wrap package. We're going to send I have some small boxes. We're going to, whatever will fit in that box, you're going to get. They will be great products. This is one of the most outstanding things that I've run across a long time. Like I told you guys last week, for years I've run them
plastic
worm
bags.
bags, and they work. I've used them forever. After I got a hold of this, that's gone. There'll never be another one. There's no comparison of how good these rig wrap products work. So to get in on this giveaway, you have to go to the Catfish Weekly page and tell us that you want to win the rig wrap package. Now, it has to be separate. We got to figure out something to do this, Doc. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
To be in on this, you have to send us a message that you want in on the rig wrap giveaway, because we're doing the deal with Aaron Wheatley's Monsters on the Ohio. If you guys haven't got involved in that, it's a free chance to spot 100 on the Monsters on the Ohio. You got to get involved with that. But send us a message on Facebook, and this will apply to people that watch the show live. It'll apply to people that watch it later, whether it be on YouTube or Google or wherever, because there's several venues when it's really getting hard for us to keep up with all the viewers and people that we have. But send us a message on Facebook, and next week we will go through this and pull out the winner, and somebody will win a package, and you'll like it. I promise. It comes from Rig Wrap. You're going to love it, man. It's just awesome.
Okay, let me jump in here, Lyle, real quick. Sure. Robert just jumped in there. He goes, "How about a Survivor giveaway? Let's do it.
Let's make that happen, Robert.
We'll make that happen too.
This has happened just now in a live thing on our chat, and Robert with Crusher Marine is going to offer up a giveaway for a Survivor unit. Greatest thing for keeping fish alive that's been brought to the world in a long time. Let me get with Robert, and we'll announce that next Monday night on the show, and we'll make sure how we're going to do it. Robert is so good to offer that and to do it. We'll make that happen. We'll make the announcement for a Survivor unit for everybody that don't have one. If you don't have one, please go to their website. Check this thing out. It's unbelievable. It's inexpensive, and it saves your fish. So you can't lose with that. What else we got, Doc?
I just want to say something, and we do not take our listeners for granted. We really appreciate you guys. Every Monday night, the numbers just keep getting bigger and bigger for us. So evidently, Lyle and I are doing something right when we're doing this show. So we appreciate everybody that listened, the questions. Just keep firing them questions at us. at us. And
Absolutely.
if you like the show, tell us that you like the show. If there's something you don't like, tell us. That way we can correct it. It's hard doing a live show. It really is. You make mistakes, and it's tough doing, but we appreciate it. On our chat, we got everybody in here. So, but we have a good time doing this, and I appreciate it. I've been on the show for a year now, and I didn't think I was going to like it, but I have really liked doing this show.
We have a great time, and you and I fish a little bit together now. We have a lot of fun, and here we must be doing something, Doc, because we got Muddy River catfishing. We got Danny Cowell on the show. We got regular dude catfishing. We got a bunch of people in here, and we've got guys that have been watching us for 3 years.
For a long time, yeah.
It means so much to us because, when we show up to these tournaments and people come up to us, and a lot of them say, hey, I'm such and such. Well, I see your name on our chat every week. So I haven't met you, but I almost know you because you ask questions and you make comments and things like that. And it works out really, really good.
And I didn't mean to throw you off there.
No, that's fine. Robert, I didn't find that information on the Maumee River yet. I'm still trying to get hold of a guy that actually can give me quality information. I don't want to tell you something that's not correct. So there we go. But, we appreciate it so much. And when we have a guest on like Chris that spends his time, and Chris running 3 or 4 days on 8 hours sleep, so he's a little bit tough, and we appreciate him coming on and sharing this information with us. But people will send us messages. It's like reviews, and tell us that they really appreciate what we've done with Chris and him sharing information. Because let's face it, these guys don't have to do that. Larry Muse shared some outstanding information. There's a lot of other guys. Jeff Dodd did too, the Massengill brothers. All these guys shared some really quality information with us over the last 3 years. And that's how beginners learn, and even some of us old guys pick up a lot of stuff from these new guys. These new guys, Doc, have got some things figured out that we never knew.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it is what we're doing right now. We've got the internet. We can share information. We never had that. When I started my website in its infancy, that was 19 years ago. And, I just sat down and typed. Now it's kind of old school. It's still there, but nowadays everybody wants to see the videos. They want to be watching what somebody's doing. So
that's right, and that's where these new guys are really shine. But the guys that go to your website, it's still quality information, and you can pick up a lot by going to there and get the stuff. Chuck and I talked about it for years before you was on the show, and it was the holy grail of catfishing information for a long time.
Well, I appreciate that. So, and you notice one thing, our shows get longer and longer.
Yeah, I do.
We've been into an hour and a half. It doesn't bother us none.
No, it doesn't bother us as long as we can keep the viewers, and we're still right up there with some pretty good numbers. Yeah. We had talked the other day, and promise, guys, we're getting ready to quit, about having banners behind Doc and I. Doc had his banner for Bink's cancer thing, and I've had different ones throughout the years. And when I have rods that are drying, it's hard for me to do. But I can move this around. Any of our sponsors that want a banner put up behind us in our backgrounds, and if you're not a sponsor and you'd like to do that, you can be a sponsor by contacting us. And we would like to have enough banners that each week we can rotate them out and have a different one behind us each week. But you guys have to get the banners done and get them to us. I know I'm waiting on one now from Aaron Wheatley with Monsters on the Ohio. Don't forget, we got a giveaway coming up for about 100. I'm waiting on one for Mississippi River Monster. George and Leslie's going to send us one. We're going to have those banners on there. We're going to help promote these things. You other guys that if you want to promote your tournaments, if you're in the qualifying for Catfish Weekly National Championship, we'll offer you the same deal. Have a banner made, send it to us. We'll help you out. We want to promote catfishing. We want to do it for the right reasons. That's our way of doing it. Thanks
Yep.
for watching Catfish Weekly, everybody. We'll see you next Monday night.
Thanks for